Hey folks, it's me, Frederik, from the FWX podcast. I want to talk to you about another movie that I think qualifies for what I have dubbed to be thriller season. The, well, almost year-long period from the fall of 2024 up until the summer or even into the summer of 2025. And it's about this movie this time, Carry On. We have our main guy, Taron Egerton, this damn dude here. And then the other one, the villain of this movie, the other guy here, played by Jason Bateman. And so I want to talk to you about the story of this and how it carries into a few interesting concepts when it comes to thrillers and the movie itself, of course. And let us start with one thing that I think will be interesting for a lot of people, in that Carry On is kind of seen as in the Die kind of specter. I said Die I meant Die Hard specter, really. Like the franchise that we've heard about all those years. They're iconic for being all about Bruce Willis's character, John McClane. And Carry On is in that same kind of vein, in that what happens in this movie happens on Christmas Day. And he is. So, Taron's character, Ethan Kopek, is a TSA agent. TSA is the Transportation Security Administration. And this movie takes place in the Los Angeles International Airport, also known as LAX. And so I'm going to talk about the story right now, but first I have to give you another disclaimer, in that, as you just saw for a moment now, the screen will get brighter, I will get brighter, and that is going to happen in a moment again. But I also have to tell you that on occasion I will flub words, I will have weird pauses, and maybe this time I will swear. I just did an episode about Conclave where I said I would swear, but I ultimately didn't. Let's see if that happens here or not. We'll see. And let's start with Carry On, with the movie and the story about it. And I'm going to give you something first, in that this is not an adaptation. This is a legitimate original idea about a young TSA officer who is blackmailed into allowing a nerve agent on board a flight during Christmas Eve. And so the story starts in LAX on Christmas Day with our guy Ethan Kopek, played by the brilliant Taron Egerton, who is an agent for the Transportation Security Administration. And he has become cynical after he's been rejected by the police academy in LA because he was concealing up the fact that he had a father with a criminal past. And he lives with his girlfriend, Nora, who is played by Sofia Carson, by the way. And she encourages him to reapply for this job, to be a police officer and pursue that dream. But at work, Ethan asks his supervisor, Phil Sarkowski, who by the way is played by Dean Norris, who you might know from Breaking Bad, to assign him to manage the baggage scanning lane, so that he can show off that he can have his promotion. I'm gonna rephrase it. He wants to make it clear to Sarkowski that he is ready for a promotion. And so he asks to be put on the baggage scanning lane. And during his shift, Ethan gets an earbud. You know, those little small devices that you use in public transports to listen to music or a podcast or make it clear to the world that you do not want to talk to anyone. And he is contacted through this earbud and a phone by someone called the Traveler, who orders him to let a specific carry-on case get through the scanner, or his girlfriend will be killed. Nora will be killed. And so the Traveler has someone with him called the Watcher, who is constantly monitoring Ethan's work and will attempt to alert the authorities if Ethan is not doing what he is asked. But Ethan is a smart cookie, and he manages to warn one of his colleagues, a guy named Lionel. Lionel is played by a man named Curtis Cook, who you might know from House of Cards, Suitcase, and Narcos. Okay. But the team watching Ethan, especially the poison, I'm getting ahead of myself here. They figure out what he is doing. The Traveler and the Watcher figure out what Ethan is doing, and the Traveler manages to poison Lionel with aconite. And I think I just said the wrong word here. It is better known by wolfsbane or monkshood. So a toxic thing gets into Lionel, which causes him to have a fatal heart attack. And Ethan gets upset because of this. And because of that, one of his other colleagues, Jason, takes over his position. And here the Traveler makes it clear to Jason. I'm gonna rephrase again. The Traveler makes clear to Ethan that he will kill anyone, including Jason, if necessary to execute his plan. So Ethan has another little plan of himself, and he plans an alcoholic drink at the work session that he has at. But then when Jason comes, he gets to sit there and is caught by their supervisor, which causes Jason's removal from the place. And then Ethan needs to replace Jason again. And Ethan ultimately lets the person with the carry-on case through, as he was instructed to do. And on the boarding pass from this person, he sees that this person's name is Mateo Flores. And at that moment, the Traveler reveals to Ethan that the suitcase contains Novichok, which is a lethal nerve agent. While that is happening, we have an LAPD detective named Elena Cole, who is played by Danielle Deadweiler, who is investigating a double homicide, so two people were getting murdered. And she discovers that these two people were smuggling Novichok into the country. And she alerts the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and she starts to connect this to what is happening at LAX and the 911 call that Ethan had to break off. And that causes a terminal-wide sweep in LAX. And Ethan manages to get this Mateo Flores on the list of passengers that are in flagged for inspection. But the traveler figures out that Ethan did this, and he confronts him in the restroom, where they fight for a moment. And Ethan at this moment gets hold of the traveler's not a normal kind of gun, but a plastic gun, almost like maybe uh, maybe people have heard about ghost weapons, the kind of things that you need to assemble together. And I believe that is what a plastic gun thing here is, where it is made in such a different way that it does not get flagged through the kind of security apparatus that they have at those kinds of ports, like uh, airports. You know, with the big machines where you have to go through, where you get flagged, and maybe even have to open up your arms and raise them and remove your belts and all of that. So those kinds of things, this kind of item would not get mentioned. But then at the same moment, the traveler also arms the Novichok bomb through his phone. And then his boss, Sarkowski, who has this list, and he has to detain Mateo for the inspection. But then even comes between them, and he has this plastic gun, and he uses it, holding them both at gunpoint. And Mateo, unfortunately, has to kill Sarkowski, and he does that when Ethan basically refuses to shoot him. And in that moment, Ethan learns that this guy, Mateo, is also being coerced like he is. Because Mateo is gay, and his husband is being held by the Watcher, who's watching this whole operation happening, is watching this moment happening. And he is holding Mateo's husband Jesse hostage in a van. And so new instructions follow as the time is running out for Ethan and for the traveler. And the traveler has to guide Ethan through the process of resetting the bomb, as it has been armed already remotely through the phone. But then there's another altercation between Mateo and Ethan, as Mateo has been instructed to kill Ethan. But then he does try to fire at Ethan, but he is killed himself when this plastic gun overheats and explodes. And this is all happening, by the way. I'm talking about this in a way like you don't know where it's happening. It's not just the security kind of vibe, the security location, like you find this in an airport, but all throughout the airport of LAX. And Mateo is following in that moment. Mateo is following Ethan. They're running. There's a lot of running in this movie. And so Mateo is unfortunately killed by his own fault. And in this moment also, the traveler gets to retrieve his case of the Novichok, and he orders his companion, the Watcher, to kill Ethan's girlfriend, Nora. And because Mateo has just died, Ethan loots what he can find off of Mateo, and he calls her through her number. And Nora breaks free from the Watcher. And this happens in the parking garage outside. And at the same time, Jesse also breaks free, and he kills the Watcher. Um, while this is all happening, the detective from the LAPD, Cole, is on their on her way to the airport with an agent from the Department of Homeland Security, John Elcott. But she soon realizes in this car that this man is an imposter and one of the traveler's accomplices. And in a moment of all the action and an altercation with the car, she kills him in self defense. And when she arrives at the airport, she finds Ethan and she confronts him. And then she alerts the LAPD, and that initiates basically a complete shutdown of the entire terminal of where Ethan was running his security moment from. Well, he was trying to impress his boss so that he can get his promotion. So the whole security lane again, where you have to go through and get checked if you are having anything on you that is either fatal to get killed by or not, or you have drugs, or you have something else that's illegal. And so that is happening. And so the detective then also learns who the target is. And this is a woman named Grace Suarez Turner, who is on a flight to Washington, D.C. And the traveler is trying to get the Novichok on board this plane. And this Congresswoman, Grace Suarez Turner, is about to advocate for increased weapons funding. And the indication of the Novichok, because it has that name, would be to implicate Russia, which would ensure that more people in Congress would give more approval towards the substantial defense spending, and that will be enriching weapons manufacturers. So that's the whole point of that, getting the Novichok on board so that people in Washington, D.C. are more liable to the donors, basically, of the weapons complex. Yes. And so in that moment, the traveler gets to his flight. But he is also unaware that Ethan has managed to switch the bomb into a similar kind of suitcase, and it forces him to stow it in the plane's cargo hold. So not just in the plane part where everybody is sitting and you have the overhead parts, but literally inside the belly of the beast, basically, where everything else is being held. And even gets into the plane, gets into the cargo hold to disarm this bomb, while his girlfriend. By the way, I'm not sure if I've said this yet at this point, but Nora is pregnant, but only recently pregnant, because she does not show in the movie, and by show I mean like a serious bump. And so Nora is persuading the detective to let the flight take off in an effort to make sure that the traveler I'm going to rephrase that for a moment. So Ethan gets on the airplane while Nora is trying to persuade the detective Cole to let that flight take off, to not make the traveler, Jason Bateman's character, not aware of what is being happening, so that he does not become suspicious. And while Ethan is trying to dismantle this bomb, the traveler gets an alert from his phone about the device because it's linked to the bomb, and he goes into the cargo hold and holds Ethan at gunpoint. But even before he can even rearm the Novichok and even escape with a parachute, because he had this all planned out on how to do this, even gets to do the impossible, and that is get the traveler into an airtight refrigeration unit with the parts that he got out of the bomb, which is the nerve engine itself, and the traveler dies in excruciating pain. And then, not too long after, the plane gets to return to the airport of LAX. And then we get a little epilogue of this movie where Ethan and Nora and their little baby boy are passing through one of those checkpoints that Ethan used to work at as they're going to Tahiti with their friend Jason and his family. And even at this point has reapplied for the police academy, and he closes the movie out by placing his badge in a scanning tray as they are going through the security terminal. And that is where the movie ends. So that's a pretty solid movie. A good action thriller. And like I said before, this is very much like Die Hard. I believe it's a second one that is also taking place in an airport in Dulles, in Washington, D.C. An airport I have been myself to when I was years ago in America when we were flying back. And so this is a solid movie. This is, by the way, a Netflix movie. And this has everything that you might want in an action thriller, a proper action thriller. And I think also the interesting point is that because this takes place on Christmas Day, there's a question of, is this a Christmas movie or not? And to close out this episode, I would like to thank you for watching this episode and hearing me talk about all of this, despite my little things that I'm doing at the same time, the awkward pausing, the like right now, or flubbing a word, or umming all the time. Not gonna be sorry for that. That happens to everyone. It happens to me constantly. But I want to thank you for getting through all of that and hearing to me talk about this movie, about Carry On, with Mr. Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman in this movie. And so, finally, to end this off, you can like this movie, you can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video and the episode. If you want more of this, I would love for you guys to get more engaged with me. I'm already getting a few watches, views from you guys, and it's delightful. I hope to get more of those. So thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.